Hey, everybody.
This is 6 Feet Unfiltered, back
I'm
for
Courtney.
season two. I'm Chloe. We're talking about season two, episode 7, Back to the Garden today. Anything you want to chat about before we dive in, Courtney?
Oh, my life is a mess.
Same!
It's just, I'm putting fires out every fucking day. It's literally just crumbling apart. And this is giving me hope and joy. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you, everybody out there. Your likes, comments, subscriptions, reviews give us an ounce of serotonin in our miserable lives.
Yeah,
Just
they
kidding.
give me the
We have great
tinglies.
lives. I love my life. It's fine. We're fine. We're not. Don't put us on a watch list or anything, but
I mean, you can put me on a watch list.
maybe. Courtney is known to frequent the fifth floor, so
One time. One time. And it was like a fucking vacation.
yeah, yeah, truly. Well, never know. We might end up back there.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that at some point. I'm sure
We've already talked
I'm sick
about
of
it on the
yeah, we have.
podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, Peter.
Pretty much Billy. Oh, Peter.
How's he doing?
Hmm. I'm sure he's doing grand. Him and his Donald Trump
Oh, Jesus.
loving ass.
Well, shout out Peter. Um, okay.
Moving
Hopefully he
on.
still hopefully he still lets us stay at his house when our next friend dies.
Yeah, he will. And please don't
Cool.
have any more friends die.
Yeah. Hopefully not. Okay. On that note, today we're diving into 6 Feet Under Season 2, Episode 7, Back to the Garden. This episode opens with one of the show's most uncomfortable deaths yet. Jeffrey Shapiro accidentally suffocates during an attempt at autoerotic asphyxiation, leaving his wife and Fisher and Sons to wonder what really happened and whether his death was a suicide or a tragic mistake. It was a tragic mistake, spoiler alert. Meanwhile, emotions are running high across the board. Keith is barely holding it together while caring for Taylor, leading to a major blowup that ultimately pushes Eddie out of the picture. David tries to keep his guard up, but Keith clearly isn't done pursuing him. Nate finds himself oddly drawn to the rabbi presiding over Jeffrey's funeral while still hiding his AVM diagnosis from Brenda, whose own behavior is becoming increasingly chaotic as she spirals. Over in Topanga Canyon, Claire escapes to Aunt Sarah's annual Howl Weekend. I cannot wait to talk about this, where she gets a glimpse into the wild, countercultural world her family once orbited, and maybe even makes a romantic connection of her own. And back at home, Ruth is confronted with a life she might have had as a piece of music from Sarah reconnects her with a long buried part of herself. This episode is all about longing for freedom, for connection, and for the lives we didn't choose. Let's get into it.
Okay, I love that. For the lives we didn't choose.
Right?
I want an alternate universe and just see. I mean, I'm sure we all thought about that. Like having a moment where you could see what would happen if you would have done this or didn't do this and like where
Mm-hmm.
your life would be today.
100%. I think about that all the time, but I'm also, I don't think that I would go back and, I mean, maybe some
Change
things,
anything?
maybe some
I
things, but
wouldn't.
overall, yeah, it all teaches you a lesson and it all, exactly. Like if you, how would we even know
Even
what
with
we want?
the shambles of my life right now, I still would not change a single thing because then I wouldn't have the things that I have or know the things that I know or be the person that I am.
Yeah,
I could be
agreed.
somebody completely different.
I agree
Okay.
100%.
So we open up this episode of 6 Feet Under with a death that is equal parts shocking, uncomfortable, and very on brand for this show's dark sense of humor. Jeffrey Shapiro retreats to his private home gym for a little alone time, putting on some porn and setting up a weight machine to help him perform erotic asphyxiation, using his belt around his neck to heighten the experience. But what starts as a risky attempt at pleasure quickly turns deadly. Jeffrey, Jeffrey gets trapped in the belt, unable to free himself, and slowly suffocates. It's one of those moments where the show reminds us just how fragile and sometimes absurd life can be. A private act meant to intensify living ends up cutting his life short in the most tragic and awkward way possible.
So, oh shit, right away. I was like, this is one of Courtney's favorite episodes because I remember when we first started this, you were like, oh, I can't wait till we get to the one where Brenda gives the dude a hand job and the guy when he's doing the asphyxiation thing. And I totally forgot about this until he pulled out
It
the
happened.
belt and yeah, the
Oh,
lemon.
I
I'm
knew
like,
right when he walked into the gym. I was like, oh, this
yeah,
is the one.
this is it. We're here.
I put that I remember this episode and how dangerous this kink is and how the lemon is fine, but the asphyxiation is obviously lethal and not exactly the most prideful way to go. Can you fucking imagine? I think about that every time. Like, what if I died while I was masturbating? Oh my God. I would be dead.
Remember when you cut your arm open in the shower?
Yes. My scar. I literally, you guys, I almost did die masturbating. I was in the shower trying out a new move. I thought it was super fun to try this like whole shebang out. It was the first time I had a shower to myself in like months, and we didn't have hot water forever. So we finally got this new hot water heater, and it was a tankless heater. So it was like nonstop hot water. I knew we weren't going to run out. So I'm getting everything all situated, and I'm putting my foot on the bar in the shower, and it literally went through the bar, scraped up my whole, see the scar right here? The
Yeah, you can
whole
see it.
thing of my arm. And you know what? I was laying on the ground with the water pouring on my face and the vibrator going around in circles all over the bathroom floor, thinking, I can never tell anybody about this, but I have to tell
Shut.
everybody.
I was gonna say, shut the hell up. You were telling everybody.
So, you know what else? I got up because mama didn't raise no fucking quitter and I finished the job. Blood and everything. It was insane.
Oh yeah, good for you. So also, I'm gonna preface this episode with I'm never doing what I did for this again. I thought it would be easier, but it was so much harder. But I was doing like voice to text notes because I didn't want to type, but it was just so much harder. So now our notes are gonna be, or at least my notes are very lengthy, and also a lot of things are like
It doesn't
just
make
gonna
sense.
confuse me. So just bear with me while I decipher my own notes. But
Or
so I
maybe
said,
you
"Oh
read
my
it in your
God,
head first.
I will try my best to read ahead." I thought it was so funny. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but in this porno, the girl, the one who's getting fucked, it's like, "Oh, you guys are the best neighbors." "Oh, you guys are the best neighbor." Why can't I speak? "Oh, you guys are the best neighbors I've ever had." And do you remember? I don't know, it hasn't happened yet, and you probably don't remember, but I remember from watching before what happens with Brenda when she's doing all her crazy shit with all these different things, and there's something to do with like neighbors, I think. So I can't even believe that I thought of this, but I was like, I wonder if that is like a foreshadow or like a little Easter egg to like hint at like neighbor, like having sex with your neighbors or something, or is it just a coincidence? And I was like, nothing is a coincidence with this show, but it might be. But I just thought it was kind of interesting. But I also don't know if
I
the
can't
people I'm
remember.
thinking of, we'll talk about it again when we get to it. But I also just want to say that as I was watching this death scene, I rewound it like 5 times because I was trying to get a picture of the lemon like falling out of his mouth. And I was sitting upstairs on my bed and my window in my bedroom was open and they had the porno playing like, and she's like moaning and they're like, "Oh yeah." And like I had it play just like didn't have my AirPods in, so it was just playing out of my computer. And then I was like, "Oh my God, my neighbors can totally like hear this through my window. They totally think I'm sitting up here watching porn." And I laughed at that because I thought it was really funny. But I thought you guys might appreciate that. So I did that for you.
I love that.
So the first
I'm
scene,
not a
David,
nosy neighbor, so I would have just been like, "Oh yeah, that's
oh yeah.
Chloe. She's doing her thing."
Oh my God, did I tell you? Did I tell you about me running into my neighbor's yard last week because I thought their chickens were loose, but it turned out everything was fine. But I thought they were running away, so I went and like tried to herd their chickens back into their coop.
Were you high?
No, I was like going through a mental health crisis a little bit, but I was pretty sober. But I thought because I took my trash out and it's my neighbors across the alley and they have a chicken coop and they were all just walking around their yard, not in the coop. And I'm like, what the fuck? They're gonna run away. Like you're like, fuck. And I was like, I don't want the chickens to get hurt or like, I don't know. They're running
Hmm.
away. Like, what the hell? So I ran and then I'm like, fuck, they're not home because I was pounding on their door, on their back door. No one was answering. Then I ran around to the front. No one was answering. So then I ran back to their backyard and I'm like, fuck, what do I do? I didn't have my phone on me. Thank fuck I didn't have my phone on me because I literally would have called the fucking police because I was in such a panic and I was like, what do I do? Wouldn't have known. I would have like tried to call animal control or something because I thought they weren't home and like they were gone and then like all their chickens were gonna get out. I don't know. I just like was like I have to do. It was like there's no one else around. Like I can't just ignore this. I literally thought they were loose, and then all of a sudden the neighbor comes out and she's like, "Hey," I'm like running around her yard, and I'm like, "Hey, is this cool? That they're out of their
My
coop?" And she's
God.
like, yeah, I'm not even kidding. It was so embarrassing, but it was super funny. She was super nice. She was just like, I appreciate the concern. It's okay, but no, they're fine. Like we let them out sometimes. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm Chloe, by the way. So
Nice to
yeah,
meet you.
that's how I met my neighbor. Anyway, why the fuck did I tell that story?
About nosy neighbors.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I wouldn't care either, I guess, if I heard my neighbor watching porn. I would just put my AirPods in or something. So hopefully that's what they
Mm-hmm.
did, even though I wasn't actually watching porn. But anyway, so
The
David, well, I guess
same porn
technically,
over and over.
yeah, yeah, 5 times just repeating the. That's why I was like, oh
Like,
God,
geez,
that's
is there any
embarrassing.
variety here?
Yes. I was like, they're thinking she keeps rewinding this one part.
Must be a really good one. It was totally the
She
ending.
yes. Okay, but no. So first scene, David just walked into Keith's house and was like all wet from the rain, and they had like this steamy moment. And Keith's like, "Were you crying?" And David says, "No, it's raining." Okay, yes, I was crying. And then Keith comforts him and they start making out. And I thought for sure that was going to be David's dream, but it was Keith's dream. I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh my gosh, I love Keith's alarm clock. I love everything that I see that is like just very 2000s." And it was such a 2000s like piece of technology. I had to comment on it. Because then he wakes up and he hits his alarm clock and realizes it was all a dream and he gets all grumpy and huffing and puffing. And then you can hear the shower running in the background, assuming that Eddie is in the shower. So Keith's obviously feeling longing for David as well and feeling frustration about it.
And I think that's an important scene because we see later what kind of happens. But I also wrote something very similar about how is this a dream? Oh snap, it was. And I put it's killing me. And you guys might be able to relate to this too, but I do this all the time. I literally will have a sex dream and about somebody else, and I wake up too soon. So I try to go back to bed so I can finish it and like relive this erotic moment. Pun intended. I put pun intended, but I don't know what my pun was. So maybe finish. I try to go to bed and finish. Yeah, I think that was the pun. We'll go with that.
Finish the dream, and
Finish. Yeah. Okay.
You yourself. I
Finish
get it.
myself off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny because it was so frustrating.
Sorry if you guys
Oh
can hear
my
me
good
drinking.
lord. No, I can't.
What? Okay. Um, oh yeah, but I mean, yes, that has happened to me too, and also just with regular dreams, I will often try to just go back and be like, wait a minute, let me get back in there real quick. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so now we're seeing Keith go up to Taylor, who's sitting on his couch watching this super creepy kid show with like a skeleton talking about anatomy or something, and she's coloring, and he's grumpy. He's about to bitch at her about something. First of all, poor Taylor, she keeps saying her tummy hurts because obviously she's still there with Keith, so she's not with her mom. Her mom is still out doing whatever the fuck she's doing, but she's doing something where she's not home with her daughter and has not been for a very extended period of time at this point. And imagine being a little girl at her age and all of a sudden just not having your mother. So of course her fucking stomach hurts. My stomach hurt every fucking day in second grade just because I
Mm-hmm.
went to a fucking school that was not the one that was right across the street from my house because they changed the boundaries and I had to go to a different school that I fucking had. Like, I had a panic attack every day at school because I miss my mom. Imagine how Taylor feels. Her mom is out doing God knows what for months on end. Not saying that I mean, I think I have issues, but still. Um, Anyway, where was I? So Taylor has so much anxiety, and Keith is so stressed. He's trying to keep his cool, but he's just being really mean to her. And he's like, eat your omelet or go to school hungry. And Eddie walks in and he's like, yeah, bribe her. That's a good idea. Then they get into a huge blowout fight, and Eddie's like, this is more than I signed on for. And Keith says, basically just told him, get the fuck out, and said he's barely gotten any sleep since he killed that guy. So Keith has obviously been going through trauma, like PTSD stuff from that, and having to deal with all this stuff with Carla and his mom and Taylor. And poor Taylor, he doesn't know what to do with her because she's so stressed and anxious. But also, I wanted to note that we're really seeing another little glimpse of Keith's super violent side here, because not super, he didn't hit anybody, but you see the beast kind of come out, like slip out of its cage for a second when he grabs Eddie. He threw his keys at Eddie, he grabbed him by the arm and aggressively pulled him aside, and then Eddie says, if you find any of my stuff, shove it up your tight white ass or something, which was super funny because it definitely pissed Keith off. He's like, I know you didn't just call my ass white. And then he comes back in. I fucking love this show. And Taylor's sitting there looking at him. She saw that whole thing happen, so that's just piling on her trauma. But she says, again, my tummy hurts. So I said, my God, so fucking sad. At the time, I was thinking, like, no shit, your tummy hurts. Like, you're probably getting a fucking ulcer from all the stress you're under, the poor girl.
Mm-hmm.
Later, we find out it's appendicitis, but still, yeah. Anyway, Keith
I
is dismissing
also
her.
was on the anxiety train. As soon as she said her tummy hurts, I knew that I assumed it was anxiety. And also, I wanted to point out here that Keith is on edge because he's still in love with David and he's looking for ways to get mad at Eddie. Not that he has to look hard for them, but he's creating a narrative in his head to like,
I think it's
he's
true,
self
though.
sabotaging.
Yeah. I,
Yes, like he doesn't have to look hard for all of this, but he's
yeah.
definitely sabotaging things for, I don't want to say selfish reasons because I think it's important. I don't
Yeah.
like that sounds bad. Like it sounds like I'm not on Keith's side, but I am on Keith's side because I do think it's important for him to leave Eddie and be honest about his love life and what he truly wants as far as which man he wants to be with. However, at the same time, he's hurting his niece, whom he's supposed to be the helper for. So, like, I get it. I have fucking bad days as a mom. Like, I really, truly do. And the other day, where I was having one of the shittiest days ever. There's so much going on. Like, my marriage is falling apart. Um, Other things are just happening in the world and my city and all of this stuff. I'm in the car with my kid and she's freaking the fuck out because she can't buckle her seatbelt. And she's taking the seatbelt and she's like, and I'm like, I'm about to freak out. So I check myself like a grown ass woman and I'm like, your problems, yes, they are so much bigger than not getting a fucking seatbelt plugged in, but they don't matter right now. I have to just shove it down my throat and calmly help my child back down off of her ledge because she's on the edge of it right now and help her get her seatbelt plugged in. I call it plugging it in. I don't know what you guys call it. So that she can learn how to soothe and like self-regulate. And
100%.
they
And
don't. Go ahead.
I was going to give you a shout out and say, like, I've witnessed this firsthand. Courtney is the most calm mom I've ever seen in my life, which is crazy because she's not, I love,
I'm
no,
not called.
Genuinely. Courtney's not a calm person. Like, calm has never been a word that I would ever use to describe Courtney, but as a mother, it's so impressive how you keep your cool with your kids. You have good kids, though. Not that, you always, every parent will deal with like difficult things with their kids. I'm not trying to say like your kids are wild and horrible to deal with, but like you never get upset with them. You get upset, but not with them. And it's just that's a very good skill. So shout out. Courtney's a good mom.
Thanks. Oh,
I love
that
you.
made my whole night.
Hmm,
I love you.
I love you. Okay.
Oh, Lord.
I know, I'm sorry. I won't do this again. Another really intense scene, and we find out so much. So we get to hear from Ruth's perspective about what happened with Nate and David when they went to visit Sarah in Topanga Canyon all those years ago, because Claire is in the kitchen at the Fishers getting ready to leave for school, and she's asking Ruth if she can go to see Sarah after school for the weekend, and Ruth's like, no. And she goes on, she's like, you know, you heard what happened to Nate or what was done to Nate. And Claire's like, what was done to him? Have you been around 15-year-old guys lately? They're like total hornswogglers or something like that. Some weird word. It made me cackle. Um, and then she goes on, she's like, well, it was a much more innocent time. And Claire says, what, the 80s? And Ruth was like, well, what about what happened to David? He hiked 3 miles down the canyon just to get away from those people. And he cut his ear on a bramble.
What's a
Which is
bramble?
like, I
A
think a bramble is
branch?
like one of those prickly things, like a little prickle ball.
Oh,
That's what I picture in my brain, but I don't know for sure. Like brambles and briars. I don't know. Like a pokey thing, pokey nature thing. Tell us what a bramble is, people. I don't know. But I thought it was fucking hilarious. Ruth and her weird words, and like, of course, she's upset that David cut his ear. Um, Anyway, so then Clara is so smart because she knows her mom has been into the plan shit and building her house and stuff. So she starts talking in these metaphorical terms like Ruth has been. And she's like, Mom, have you ever thought about scaffolding? And Ruth looks at her like, what are you talking about? And Claire says, well, when you're building a new house, you use scaffolding to support you. And I just think that it's a good opportunity to revisit old experiences in a new way or with a new lens or something like that. And then she's like, so I'm going there after school and I'll be back on Sunday. And she walks out, and Ruth just sits there and looks at her like, okay, she doesn't even try to fight her really, which I appreciated because I feel like that
mm-hmm.
shows her growth as well. But she knows that Claire made a point because how can you argue with that? Especially when Ruth, like, she's just matching her logic. We don't know what Ruth is thinking or feeling right now for sure, but I would be willing to bet that she's actually kind of trying, like, that did push her to consider maybe that Claire does have a point. So I thought it was interesting. So after that, we got to see the death scene or the intake scene. So the death scene character's wife and the rabbi, who's super hot, and the wife was actually really hot too. But anyway, they're doing the intake with Nate and David, and they're talking about how it's a Jewish funeral, and pretty sure that David lied about them having done a Jewish funeral there before because they asked if they've done a Jewish funeral, and David
We
was
haven't
like,
seen
yes,
any.
of course. No, David said yes, of course, and then he looked at Nate like,
Yeah, but we haven't seen him do any
oh,
Jewish
yeah,
weddings.
no. We have not. We've not seen any explicitly, although I don't Jewish funerals. You said
Weddings?
weddings, I think.
Weddings.
None of those either. But
Okay.
I don't know. I know Jewish people do things. I don't know what I don't know. They were I don't know. I don't know what's different about or what they would have needed to accommodate. It seemed like a normal service. Just anyway, didn't look that part up. But so David gave Nate the side eye, like play along. But then she starts saying, I think the rabbi asked her, if you want, I can do this like with the guy's mom, like so the wife didn't have to do the intake. And the wife said, no, fuck it, I can do it. And then she gets kind of pissed off. She's like, what do you need to know? He killed himself when I was at Gymboree with our 4-year-old daughter. He hung himself for no reason. I came home and found him with his pants around his ankles. And I don't think that well, I don't know, but it's probably obvious what he was doing, right? Like, I wonder if she
That's what I put.
understands. Yeah, but
I
like,
put
is the
I put
wife
that I think the porn was still playing. So like
maybe she
they're
did maybe
either so naive, which is
but think
absolutely
about
possible.
remember when okay, it was a VHS. Think about VHS is what happened when a VHS would um end. It would just like it wouldn't keep going. So maybe they got home late enough for it to be off and then but they do mention later that there was a porno in the VHS. So obviously she does find out unless they wouldn't keep that from her. We don't know the explicits, but it very much appears as though the wife is kind of oblivious as to like literally what he was doing, like she's just acting confused. But I wonder if it's
Hmm.
just avoiding not wanting to accept it yet or
The
admit it,
reality.
or if she actually isn't like clicking it in her brain what he was doing. But she says that he had his pants around his ankles. So she's super pissed. She's freaking out. Then Nate and David are dumbfounded. They don't really know how to respond. And the wife also mentioned that he worked at the best law firm in LA and was 3 months away from making partner. So I think they're just emphasizing how cushy of a life they had and how much this woman's life just was completely turned upside down simply from a stupid mistake because he accidentally killed himself while masturbating. It's just driving home how absurd that is.
They're trying to paint us a picture of like he has this perfect life and all of these perfect things and all of these great things are happening to him. Why would he kill himself? When first of all, let's just back up and pretend that he actually did commit suicide, like tried to kill himself. People that commit suicide don't have all of these warning signs. They do have, some of them have what you would think is this good life. Like you don't have to have a shitty life to be depressed. Depression goes way farther and further, way deeper than tangible things and your
For sure.
beautiful home. So there's that. And then second of all, I forgot what I was going to say. So we can just move on.
Okay. So now we're with Brenda and Joanna Cassidy slash Margaret at a fancy restaurant having what looks like lunch together, and Margaret is gushing about her new apartment. I'm glad we're getting to hang out with Margaret again, even though she's
I know.
fucking psychotic. She's such a good time. And the reason she has a new place and she's all excited about it is because she has left Bernard, apparently. Because the last time we saw them, I think she was tripping about him sleeping with a younger girl that she stalked and forced Brenda to stalk with her at the Tranquility Spa. And then she apologizes to Brenda. I'm really sorry for all the awful things that I said to you. And then she's like, do you want to apologize for slapping me? And Brenda's like, well, that was insane of me. And Margaret's like, just apologize. And Brenda's like, okay. She didn't even say I'm sorry. She was just like, okay. Um, so then Margaret shares with her that the mistress, Bernard's mistress, has moved into the house. And then Brenda shares with her that she and Nate are engaged. And Margaret laughs like maniacally. Oh, honey, come on. Is this the man for you? Do you think he has what it takes up here? She says, which I was dying. She's such a bitch, but it was
Mm-hmm.
so funny because it's so true. Because Nate is a fucking dumbass, and Brenda is
Mm-hmm.
so much more beyond where he's at. But I also appreciated what she said. She goes, no, mom, he doesn't think so hard. He wants to put a staple gun to his forehead, which I said, that is so real because you and I, Courtney, can both relate to being overthinkers to the point where we just want to literally put a fucking staple gun to our forehead. And that is a miserable, like,
Mm-hmm.
being super in your head can be very rewarding in many ways, but it can also make your life fucking miserable if you're just constantly thinking about everything. I wouldn't choose to not be that way. I'm glad that I have a lot of thoughts, but it is hard. And I'm not trying to say, oh, we're like Brenda and we're so smart, but like it's just a relatable thing to want to envy somebody and to want to be around somebody who brings you down when you're constantly spiraling for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I appreciated that she said that. And then Brenda shares that she proposed to Nate, and Margaret really loses it laughing. And she's laughing like so hard and where everyone's staring. Then Brenda's like, yeah, I know. It's really funny. It's almost as funny as the notion of you trying to build a life on your own. And then she laughs, like literally like, and they're in the middle of their zone and they're both doing it then. And I think it actually turned into them like genuinely laughing together. Like it was like
Probably.
toxic at first and then it morphed into like they were literally really thinking it was so funny because it is so funny. Like it's a messy, beautiful moment, even though it immediately spirals as they always do.
I thought this scenario was interesting where Brenda clearly has no respect for her mom, and I don't fucking blame her.
Word.
And her mom is so full of shit. Like, so full of shit. How do you even. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just insane to me.
Oh my God, my AirPod was like fully out of my ear. How did that even happen? It was literally like this. Why? Why didn't anyone tell me? Okay. Um,
I didn't see it.
good. No, or Margaret as a human, as a fictional human, is an asshole. She's a total narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks. Sucks for Brenda. So now we're in the prep room, and Nate's like, I don't see how he could kill himself if he had 3 kids. So obviously, Nate didn't clock it right away either, but he also didn't have all the information at that point. But I guess I guess Nate wouldn't know, and the wife would because she saw this, and I think that she said she found him. But anyway, so Rico's over here playing Sherlock Holmes, and he's like, I don't think he meant to kill himself. The guy at the morgue said there was a porno playing in the VCR, and there was Astroglide in the apartment, like sitting next to him or whatever. And Nate's like, Astroglide, what's that? And then David's over in the corner, lube. It's lube for sex. Which is funny because, of course, David would know that and Nate wouldn't. And
Why
Nate's like,
wouldn't.
thank you,
I have a
David.
point to talk about that.
I want you to because I know exactly what you're going to say.
I cannot believe. I don't like how they insinuated that since Nate is doing sex in a heterosexual type of way, that they don't use lubricant. But of course, David would because he's doing anal. That shit drives me nuts. I have lube right here. Everybody should be using lube for sex. I don't care what kind of sex it is. Heterosexual, gay, anything in between. Lubricant is life and it makes everything feel so much better. Please just use a lubricant. And if you have ever used a lubricant and you don't like it, then you're using the wrong kind. Okay? It's like finding a therapist. Just because you don't like the first therapist doesn't mean therapy doesn't work. It means you don't have the right fucking therapist. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, strong feelings there, but I totally agree. And I clock that too. It's like, that's kind of stupid, but I still thought it was hilarious that David was like, lube,
It's
it's
lube.
lube for sex. Um, so yeah, then Rico is all into this and he knows all the deets. He's like, they found the lemon wedge on the floor. You're supposed to bite down on it. So of course he knew about that.
Yeah. He's probably been practicing it himself. I just wrote, okay, so Rico knows this wasn't a suicide. Your typical suicide. It's hard. Does suicide need intent, or if you die by your own hand, regardless of your intent, is that just considered suicide? I'm going to look it up.
Nate asked that question in this episode too. He was like, would it be
Oh
considered
yeah.
suicide even if you didn't mean to do it? But I don't
Intentionally
know.
causing suicide is the act of intentionally causing one's own death. So the intent has to be there, and his intent was not there. So this was not a suicide.
Yeah, just like accidental death it would be then, but they probably
Mm-hmm.
would prefer for it to be like called a suicide at least or recorded as a suicide.
Maybe.
Okay, that's fine. They
Maybe
can do that.
not for life insurance purposes, but
Oh yeah, good point. Okay, so now Keith is calling David and saying, I'm calling to let you know that Eddie and I broke up. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of David, I said. He was like, oh, are you okay? And Keith said, yeah, I broke it off with him. And David says, oh, okay. And Keith says, yeah. And David asks, well, why? Thank you for telling me. I'm going to go now. So I was just really proud of David for not just being like, oh my God, let's hang out right away, like Keith wants him to. Make him chase you, David. Good job.
This really solidifies my theory that Keith sabotaged this on purpose, because he basically calls David hours after they broke up. So obviously there was motive here. And I think David was a huge motivator for Keith. And there was just this is just popping into my head now. Keith is going through a hard time because he's dealing with Taylor. So what do you do when you're having a really rough time? You want to go to comfort. You need
Yeah.
comfort in something. And like David is a much more comforting soul than Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just all of these things that seem to be lining up in a way that
Yeah. And
that is
Keith is too like macho to be able to just
admit that.
say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I need connection. Okay.
Yeah, don't
So
we all
we're at
fucking Keith
relatable. Okay.
Coates.
We're at we're at Brenda's with Brenda. She's hanging out with Melissa, her sex worker friend. And Melissa is looking at a catalog. And I was like, that's so 2001. I love it so much. And Brenda's like, so there's a character in my novel where the main character meets a high class hooker. So I think she's about to start telling her that she's like based on this character off of her. And if I remember correctly, this is me like typing the notes in the moment. I said, if I remember correctly, they get into a fight here, but I don't know for sure. I also love Brenda's little vase on her coffee table and her coffee table. She has good taste. I'm such a fucking interior design. I have become my mother, which I'm okay with that part. But like that specific part of becoming my mother. There's other
Yep.
parts. I'm sure you could all relate to that, but you will eventually if you can't yet. So anyway, Brenda told her that there's definitely a character based on Melissa, but she's like, you're a part of her or something. And Melissa actually didn't care about that at all. Like I thought she was. That's not what she gets pissed about. She's like, oh, awesome. And then the camera pans up and we see that Brenda is packing a bowl for them. Love this so much. I love her little weed tin. I love her little ashtray or whatever little metal gold thing that she has her weed in. It was all just so aesthetic and cute. I just love her so much. And I love this girlhood between her and Melissa, even though
Mhm.
I remember that they get into a fight eventually, but they're just so cute. And oh shit, okay, yeah. Now Brenda just told Melissa that she jerked off a client the other day, and Melissa starts to be like, what the fuck? She's like, oh. So we're seeing how I said poor Brenda. She's just spiraling so much. She's just really in a dark place right now. And she's telling her about how she jerked off this guy. I mean, you can't tell. She's not upset in the moment, but like as a bystander, I'm just watching it and I'm like, oh, you poor thing. Like you're just going through something right now.
Mhm.
Um, so she's telling her about how she jerked off the guy and how she was like, I could tell he wanted me to touch it. And I thought, no, that would be crossing a line. And then she's laughing and she's like, and then I did it. And she's just throwing away all of her integrity because she just wants to feel something, which is so fucking relatable too. But I just feel so bad for her. And it's sad because she's like self sabotaging. And then she's like, I crossed the line, I crossed the line. And Melissa is just laughing, like, you're hilarious. And then Brenda says this thing where I was like, okay, this was weird. She goes, I know, what am I trying to be, you or something? And Melissa, it was just so awkward. Melissa's like, yeah, I don't know. So Brenda is just really fetishizing her. I was wrong. They did not get into a fight here in this scene, but they're laying the groundwork for it. So I think because you can kind of tell that Melissa is starting to be like, what's going on here? Like, this is starting
Mhm.
to feel a little weird. So then she asked her how she felt afterwards. And she's like, well, I was weirdly kind of inspired. I wrote this really cool chapter about it. And Melissa's like, well, as long as it's all for your art. And Brenda's like, yeah, no, totally. But it was obviously just starting to get to be weird vibes between them after she shared that.
We missed the part about how she goes, it was kind of huge, which you wouldn't expect by looking at him. And then moments later, Melissa says, as long as it's for your art. And you know that was kind of condescending, as long as it's for
But,
your art. Like
oh,
Melissa
yeah.
genuinely taken back by it.
For sure.
Which,
Yeah.
as intelligent as Brenda is, I'm surprised she didn't put the two and two together. I don't know. Brenda's so far
Exactly.
gone right now.
Yeah. She really
She's
is.
not
That's a
herself.
that's a really good point you bring up though, that like she is so smart and she's so smart to the point of being able to be so manipulative if she wants to be, that she's exactly like you said, she's so far gone, she's so detached from herself that she can't even
Mm-hmm.
see how she's sabotaging her relationship with Melissa by doing this,
Mm-hmm.
which I think she actually really values.
But you know what else is interesting? When you are that far gone, you can't see it. Somebody once told me, like, you can't see how tall a building is by when you're standing inside of it. So like when you're in the thick of whatever's going on, you can't even tell what the fuck is going on. Who's going to pull her out of it? Like who, cuz she's not even telling Nate all of this shit, so he can't help her. And Melissa barely knows the girl.
Right.
Like somebody's got
The
to help Brenda
call
out here.
the call is coming from inside the house, as Jackie would say.
Why did that just scare the fucking shit out of me? My butthole just went like this. What does that mean? The call is
What do
coming
you
from
mean?
inside the house.
Like, how do you explain what that would mean? Like, if you're like complaining about problems, but you're actually the problem, I guess. Like the
Oh, the
call is
call is
coming
coming
from
from inside
inside.
the.
Yeah,
That remind It reminded me of
you're
a
the
scary
problem.
movie we once watched.
Yeah, when a stranger calls, right?
Yes. It was so scary. I'm scared now. I have to let me just make sure that my alarm is set.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I remember,
it's
I
good.
feel like we went to go see that together in theaters when it came out, like
I
2008.
hate scary movies. I hate scary movies. I hate scary movies.
I love scary movies. Love, love, love. I don't have anyone really to watch scary movies with, so I watch them by myself
Yeah,
and
not
it's
no
even more
more.
fun.
Okay.
I never did. I never did, bitch. Let's be real. Um,
Okay. So now we're back onto the.
okay. We're at Topanga Canyon. We see Claire pulling up to Sarah's
Yep.
house in Topanga Canyon. Just like this beautiful little cottage tucked away amongst all these beautiful, I don't know what kind of trees they are, but it was just this whimsical, beautiful little cottage in the woods in California. And Claire's looking around like mesmerized, and she looks so cute with her freaking little green hearse. And then Sarah comes out and Claire's like, Aunt Sarah. And Sarah's like, oh, I thought we said like a probably maybe about next weekend. And then she comes down to hug her, and she's like, first she was like, oh my God, is everything okay? Because obviously Sarah was like not with it, not thinking Claire was actually going to come there. And I think it's just showing Sarah's kind of lackadaisical nature. I'm sure that it probably was actually supposed to be this weekend, and Claire,
Oh, for sure.
and yeah, Sarah's just like fucking hippie. She doesn't keep track of shit. So she's just like, oh shit. And Claire's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I can go and come back if you want. And she's like, no, you're here. You're mine. And I have to believe the universe sent you. It's our annual Howl Weekend. Which loved all of that.
I also believe the universe sent Claire, along with the fact that they made plans, but which can be more or so less than the other.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's a
Um,
combination.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. I mean, the universe works in mysterious ways. Okay. So
Oh my
Claire's
God.
like, I know, I'm sorry. Like Allen Ginsberg Howl. So when Sarah says it's their annual Howl Weekend, she's referencing the beat poet Allen Ginsberg and his famous poem Howl. The poem is basically a long emotional rant about society and the struggles of Ginsberg's generation. So Sarah's Howl Weekend is very on-brand hippie Topanga Canyon energy, like a yearly gathering where artsy bohemian friends get together to vent, make art, and kind of metaphorically howl about life, which we should fucking do that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like a yearly gathering for artsy bohemian people reading poetry, making art, playing music, possibly drugs, bonfires, nudity, and emotional catharsis. People literally or metaphorically howling about existence, which Sign me the fuck up. So, holy shit, this is very timely because that is something that I feel like everybody could benefit from in today's timeline.
Oh,
But
yeah.
basically, a cathartic counterculture. Why do I have counter? I have that word in here 3 times in a row. Cathartic countercultural hangout where people express themselves freely, inspired by the rebellious spirit of Ginsberg's Howl and the Beat Generation. And then I was like, okay, but what is that? What is the Beat Generation? So Allen Ginsberg was a poet and one of the main figures of the Beat Generation, which was a group of writers in the 1950s who rejected traditional American culture and wrote openly about things like spirituality, sex, drugs, and freedom. Their work was raw, rebellious, and anti establishment, and it heavily influenced the counterculture and hippie movements of the 1960s. And Sarah is most definitely a hippie of the 1960s, so that all makes perfect sense. But that's
Mm-hmm.
so interesting. And I want to read and learn more about all of this now. I didn't know anything about any of that, so that's pretty cool. I learned something new from this episode. So apparently, he was a dear friend of Sarah's, this Allen Ginsberg guy. And she said, oh, we shared a flat in Berlin until I got fed up with the Aryan Starfucker boys or something. So I was like, what the fuck is she talking about? But it turns out she was just saying, like, there were clout chasers that were bugging her. Then a quote I wrote down, she's like, oh, yeah, all my friends are coming. Couple of freaks and some nasty hippies from my druggy days. It's going to be a riot. I just thought that was great. So then David is in the hallway outside the prep room calling Keith back saying, why would you do that to me? And Keith is like, do what? So David's pissed. This scene was hilarious though. So Keith's sitting in his squad car with his partner, who is obviously a straight white male, but knows Keith is gay and is cool with it. And I loved that dynamic between them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's just like
He's kind of the
being
hard ass kind of
funny.
white guy, too.
Yeah, yeah. And he was like being kind of like jokey with him, just as though any
We
guy
would do
would
with our.
be. Yeah, and women too, but like I'm pointing out that like he didn't care at all that Keith is gay. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's like interacting with him just as if same way he would if Keith were talking to a woman, like they're kind of being like bros, like giggling about Keith getting a phone call from his chick, or well, it's David, but um so David's pissed at him and he's like, why did you call me to tell me that? And Keith says, well, you're my friend. I thought that you might want to know when something big happens in my life. And then David's like, oh, I'm your friend. A month ago, you didn't think we should see each other anymore. And Keith's like, yeah, well, things change. And then David says, okay, well, what exactly is your agenda? And Keith's like, I don't have an agenda. Then David's like, wonderful, great, yeah, well, thank you for sharing. And they get off the phone, and Keith's partner is looking at him laughing and giggling while they're eating like their cheeseburgers in the squad car. And Keith is just like, yeah, just shut up. Just shut up. It was fucking hilarious.
Total game. Total
Yep.
game. Like,
Yeah. Pissed me off.
can we also honor the fact that David is so much more above it? He is aware that there's a game being
Yes.
played, and he is like,
Yes.
I want to know what your agenda is.
Hmm.
People
He's so
don't like to
healthy.
be a part of games. Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all. And you're so right. And that's such an important thing to call out because this is like such a good display of emotional growth for David
Yes,
compared
agreed.
compared to like the first season because he was just constantly groveling over Keith.
Hmm.
And now he's just like, don't fuck with me. But you can tell he still wants to fuck with him, but like he's like, stop playing games. Exactly. It pissed me off too because it's like, Keith, what's wrong with you? Get over your fucking fragile male ego. Okay. Back with Melissa and Brenda again. They're eating at Brenda's kitchen table together. They're talking about strippers, how much they admire strippers. Brenda says that she hates her body, and Melissa tells her that she has a beautiful body, and Brenda was like, thank you. So, another cute girl moment. Then Nate walks in, and before he comes within earshot, Brenda tells Melissa to not bring up that she's a prostitute because he wouldn't be into it, which was so. I mean, I get it for the time, but like, I was like, it gave me the ick. Like for Nate, like, shut up. What do you mean you wouldn't be into it? Um,
Oh
and
my
then he
God.
comes in. What?
I just thought of something. What if I don't know, just in Melissa's shoes, first of all, that's a huge slap in the face.
Yeah.
And also, what is she thinking? Is she thinking like, oh, does Brenda think that I'm gonna try and like hook up with Nate or something? Or like, I don't know. Why would
Or
Brenda
the
why would
or Brenda knows that it would turn Nate on to know that she's a prostitute,
mm-hmm,
and that's
a little
why.
jealousy side?
Mhm. Oh,
I don't
weird.
know. It just
Yeah, I
seemed
wonder.
weird
That would track for the way Brenda is acting right now.
acting.
Mhm. Um, so they introduce each other, and they're Brenda and Nate are kind of taking jabs at each other. And Nate asked how they knew each other and said that she's a client. I'm skipping through some of this, it's not all that important. Then Nate starts talking about the guy that they have at the death scene character who died of autoerotic asphyxiation. And he's like, have you guys ever heard of this? And they're both like, yeah, for sure. And Melissa's like, there's a term for it in the fetish community. It's called breath play.
So yeah, I definitely called that out. It is called breath play, and I did a whole series on this on how to do it safely, and it's really cool. You should check it out. It's on my social medias somewhere, probably buried deep. Maybe it's on my TikToks. I can't remember, but follow along. It is interesting. It's interesting to know the whys and how to safely go about doing something like this so that you don't end up like whatever his name is,
Yeah,
Jeffrey
Jeffrey.
Spinner.
Poor old Jeffrey. Not Spinner. I don't know what his last name is.
Spicer, Splitter.
Something. Jeffrey.
Probably doesn't even start with an F. It was just Jeffrey.
Yeah. So then they both look at Melissa after she said that and they're like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, I read a
How
thing."
does
So I
Melissa
was
know? Yeah.
laughing. I said, "That is so Courtney." Like that would be Courtney. Just be like, "Oh, I have a TikTok series on that." Literally like you did. But also you would not care. Like she was more like, "Oh shit." You would just not care.
Melissa
But
played along with the
um
game that Brenda wanted her to do. And I
yeah.
probably don't know that I would have.
Yeah. Maybe you would
That
have
wouldn't have
though.
sat well. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
It. I would have had a conversation about it afterwards. Like, why are you trying to conceal me as your friend? Like, are we friends or not? And what would your husband say? It's not your mother.
Yeah. Like, do you accept me for who I am as a person, or are you just using me? Like, that's got to make her feel so used,
I
you
have
know?
yet to have somebody introduce me and tell me, Courtney, don't tell them what you do.
That's good.
I can't imagine what that would be like if somebody told me that. I would be like, are we talking in the same language? Like, what? Do you know me? I can't keep that a
Mhm.
secret.
Yeah,
I just feel bad for Melissa.
me too. So then Brenda says something about Nate being an undertaker, and then they're, yeah, jabbing at each other. And then Melissa's like, please
Hmm.
don't tell me that you're one of those couples who has to like, keep bickering at each other until their guests get uncomfortable and leave so they can fuck. And they both stared at her for a second. And then they're like, no, 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 that's not us. But I think that's kind of saying they're realizing that they are that couple, which was interesting. And that's not a
Hmm.
fun realization to have. And I have been there. Not the fucking part, though, only the arguing.
The arguing
So
to get
that's
the
worse.
guests to leave. Yeah, you don't get
No,
the sex
just
afterwards.
yeah, not trying to get the guests to leave, just like not being aware of how often you are just your regular interactions are just not nice. I don't know. I've gotten to that point with many people. Not many,
Hmm.
but enough. Okay. So then Brenda says something about we already have, I don't know why that's there. Already have that one. Okay. So I said, I'm screaming. I love Keith and David so much. Keith calls David, and David is laying on his bed. Pretty sure he was eating a Hot Pocket and reading a book. And he's like, Keith says, all right, you want to know what my agenda is? To take you to dinner tomorrow night.
That a
Oh,
boy. Take him out.
oh,
Take him
so
out to that dinner.
romantic. And
I'm
then
so
David's
hungry.
like,
I want to go to dinner.
I'll go to dinner with you.
Let's do it.
It's 11 p.m., but I'll go. So David is like, oh, well, if I say yes, what am I agreeing to? And Keith's like, dinner, maybe conversation, that's it. And David is like, well, we could make this plan, but it seems a little soon. And Keith interrupts him and he's like, would you shut up and just say yes? And David is just like, okay, yes, I would like to have dinner with you tomorrow night, Keith. And Keith on the other end of the phone is like giggling and laughing. Like, that's just their cute little, like, I don't know, what would you like dynamic? Like, I don't know. It's a little
Mhm.
toxic, but like it's just so them and I love it. And it shows Keith, oh, I already said that. They both have a twinkle in their eye and I'm dying. So, next is a super sad scene. No dialogue at all. It's just Ruth cooking a beautiful pork chop and potato and Brussels sprout dinner with a biscuit for herself, just for herself. And she's sitting down to eat it all alone, and sad music is playing. And it's so sad. I'm sure she's just like, I wish Nathaniel was here or something like that. But just really emphasizing Ruth's loneliness and also very interesting way to peel potatoes. I'll put a screenshot of it up, but it was like little round potatoes and she like peeled around them, but like left the
Mhm.
top and bottom skin on. It must be like an aesthetic thing because I don't know. I was
Probably.
just like, that's interesting. That makes some fucking potatoes like Ruth.
I'm the heartless bitch that says, "Oh geez, Ruth, we're really meant to feel bad for you here." Which I was feeling bad for her, but I was like
That's how
mad
I
at
read your
myself for
note.
feeling. Yeah, I did, and I'm mad at myself for feeling bad because I'm like also not a fan of pity parties, and like that just seemed to be what she was doing. I can picture her because I've done this a million times. I'm so sad. I'm going to start doing something that makes me even sadder in hopes that if they were looking in the windows, they would see how sad I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally you. Totally you. Like a
Yeah.
little
I'm like,
actress.
yes, like somebody feel bad for me. Jesus Christ. What else do I got to do here? I got to peel some more potatoes?
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I love how much you get upset when you like you have no choice but to like feel bad for Ruth or like side with her. It's so
Yeah.
funny. Okay. So
Oh.
Claire wakes up in the morning at Aunt Sarah's and Sarah's friends are arriving and they're all hippies like Sarah and they're being all hippie-like and then they start talking and she's like, this is Claire, Ruth's daughter. Sarah introduces her. And they said, oh, we didn't know Ruth had a daughter. And one of the women goes, well, you certainly knew she had a son. So one of these women is the one that had sex with Nate when he was 15 and she was 32. So this is her. And Claire clocks it and she's like, oh my God.
And I'm
How,
saying this must be the pedophile, this fucking woman, pedophile
yeah, how did you feel about the fact that
predator.
like we got to meet her and hang out with her for a episode?
Um, I got to
Did
face
it
Nate's abuser. It made me feel uncomfortable.
mhm.
Like,
It was interesting. It made me feel uncomfortable too because when we were talking about it last episode, I was like, I mean, and I do still feel like it's a very taboo topic and I'm not going to say like I think that it's fine that that happened, but it makes it very difficult meeting her in this situation where she's Sarah's friend and she's there in a positive way and still
acting like
interacting
nothing
like
happened was bad.
well like everyone is like it's just accepted and like
Mm-hmm.
it makes you want to be okay with it but like it's not okay, you know. um it's really interesting. I think it definitely connects to like just also a sign of the times like that was probably wouldn't be put into a fucking TV show today, but like
In
then it was
today's
like,
world.
yeah, yeah. Um, So then they're asking Claire how her parents are, and she said her mom's great, but her dad's not so great. He's dead. And they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And they start talking about how much fun he was and what a funny guy he was, and how they can still picture him sitting right here, hunched over his little rolling machine. He used a rolling machine, they say, and they were laughing. And Claire's like, putting all this together in her head because she has no idea that her dad was ever anything close to fun or smoked pot or which he apparently was a huge pothead because we remember the lady from the episode The Room was like his weed dealer or whatever. Anyway,
Yep.
Claire has no idea about any of this and she's putting it all together and she's like, so she's not saying this, but in her head thinking like, so dad partied with you guys, kind of confused too because I did not get the vibe that Ruth would have ever been there partying with them. So was Nathaniel like partying with Sarah without Ruth, or was Ruth just, was she there? Were they all
I think
friends
Ruth
at
was
one
there.
point? Yeah. And then but then
They
like
had to have been.
why does Ruth have such like the last episode she was like, "You had more fun than I did" to Sarah. And it's like, well, if you were there too, like you chose to like have a family, I don't know. I guess maybe that's not fair, but I just was getting a little confused when I was trying to like match every all the stories up, you know? Um
Hmm.
but it was still interesting, and Claire's just literally sitting there like, oh my God. So then in the next scene, we see Vanessa and Rico and Ramon in Rico and Vanessa's house working on the mold situation. And Rico's like on his way out the door, and he's, it's showing us that Vanessa and Ramon are being very like, she's asking him, can I get you
Flirtatious.
coffee? Can I make you breakfast? And he's like, yeah,
Hey, if you
sure.
make it, I'll drink it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like very he even did like a little like touched her under the chin and she's touching his arm and stuff because it's Rico's cousin, I think. So it's like family kind of. So I feel like
Hmm.
that is like what makes it okay, but like it's still obviously weird. So then Rico is kind of trying to interject and be helpful or like insert himself. And they're just like, yeah, like we got it, like just go. And then he looks at them before he walks out the door, and you can just tell he's like not wanting to leave. He's not liking the vibes, and he is not wanting his wife to be at home alone with Ramon. And he's seeing this, and he's the man of the house and he's feeling like Ramon is replacing him as the man of the house, I think, and he's feeling like a cuckold or something like that. Like he, which Rico has such a fragile male ego that that is like unacceptable to him. So he's completely just tripping out all day.
Well, generally,
So
a cuck is there because they like the idea of being humiliated and degraded by that. So he's feeling like a prisonered, a non-consensual cuckold,
yeah, involuntary.
an
Um,
involuntary cuck.
yeah. Um,
Okay, hold
so
on.
okay,
Time out. I need to go grab something to eat. I'm literally gonna like fall over.
okay,
I just need a snack.
that's fine. You're fine. What up? What'd you eat? Is that scrambled eggs? Did you just whip that up? Oh my God.
I put some cheese in it. Real quick.
What?
It was real quick.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna keep going while you eat, okay?
Okay.
Um, so we're at the flower shop with Ruth and Nikolai and Robbie, and Nikolai is grumbling over his books, like his finances or something. And he's like, Ruth asks him about the cleaning. She's like, I think I need to get some more natural cleaning supplies. And Nikolai is not really listening. He's like, God damn it. She's like, oh, we can just keep the stuff we have. And he's like, I'm not talking to you. And then Robbie in the background is like, are you mad at us? Which cracked me up. So funny. And then Ruth says to Robbie, I don't think he's feeling well. And Nikolai is like, I am feeling fine. And then he's like, I can't come to your house for dinner tomorrow night. I have other obligations. And she's like, what? We planned this 3 days ago. I bought aubergines, which I had to look up what that was. It's an eggplant. Ruth uses the weirdest fucking words. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an idiot. I did not know that eggplants and aubergines were the same thing. Um, and that's like the color. I don't know. Weird. Okay. Um, and then he's like, enough with all the questions. And she's like, I'm not asking you any questions. I didn't ask you any questions. And he gets up and he storms away. He's obviously super stressed about money. So that's a new story beat. Sad. And then after Nikolai storms away, Robbie is like, so tell, what do you do with aubergines? And then she's like, she has this moment where it cuts to her thinking about herself eating dinner by herself again. And she's really sad. And she's just like, I'm not going to keep doing this. So that's all she can think about. She's so lonely. I just feel so bad for her. And I forgot about this part.
I was just
And,
choking.
oh, are you okay? I wasn't looking at the screen where you are. We're going to have me talking about this while you're choking.
Background.
Are you good? What if you would have like fell over? You got it out?
Yeah.
I'm just like, Court. Okay. Woof. Woof. You good? Are you sure?
Mhm.
Okay. Um, so then Ruth asked Robbie to have dinner with her, and it was so cute. I love this so much. But anyway, Robbie says, nothing would please me more, Muffin. And then he hands her a flower and is just so adorable, especially considering they did not start out so well and now they're like besties. But they also don't. They also kind of get into it later, but we'll get to that. So they're everyone's at the funeral now, and David goes up to Nate and he goes, star sighting. I think I just saw the Jewish friend in there. And Nate is like, Jennifer Aniston? And David is like, no, the guy. And Nate says, Ross. Right. And then he goes, I'll be back in a couple hours. Hey, Nate says you forgot to shave to David. But then I had a thought. I didn't know that Jennifer Aniston was supposed to be Jewish in Friends.
She's
And I looked
not.
it up and no, she is. It said it's not like obvious, but it said that she is. Yeah. Oh, isn't that weird?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So then they're talking about they have kind of an interesting cultural nostalgic dialogue here between Nate and David. They're talking about David's facial hair, and he didn't shave because he wants to have like a sexy stubble for dinner with Keith, and Nate clocks it right away. He's like, I've perfected that art. And then he's like, are you going clothes shopping? Stay out of structure. So I had to look up what that was because I wanted to know what joke he was making. And Structure is like a clothing store in the 90s, and apparently people associated it with gay culture sometimes because they carried like more fitted shirts and sleek European style clothes as opposed to the baggy straight white men clothes of the 90s. And so I think Nate was just making a gay joke to David, but funny.
Probably.
And love that David is getting ready for his date with Keith. Then David walks away and Rico runs up to Nate and he's like still tripping in his head about the Ramon and Vanessa situation. So he's very flustered. He's like, I'm going to run home and give Vanessa a break. And Nate's like, okay, cool. And Rico walks away. So I remember now what's about to happen when Rico walks into his house, but it's not what I bet you think it is if you're watching this for the first time. And now the hot rabbi, Ari, is coming in. And very Nate focused scene here. He's watching the service and he's looking at the wife of the dead guy holding their little baby and he's imagining that it's Brenda. So he's picturing himself, I think, in like, he doesn't want to be a disappointment like this guy is. I think he's getting in his head about that. And he's like, this could be me or something. I guess it's kind of what we're supposed to be thinking that he's thinking or something.
Spoiler alert.
What?
I'm not going to give it away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Definitely is foreshadowing for. I think that he's in his head, exactly as you were saying, thinking, I'm going to fucking die young and leave my wife and kids behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very good way to put it. Very simple, clear, direct. I don't know why my brain couldn't just get to that, but that's the bottom line right there is exactly that. Um,
And it crosses my mind all the time having kids. Like everything I do I wear my seatbelt every time I get in the car? Yeah, because not because I care about my life, but because I care about my kids, not having a mom, you know?
yeah. Oh, that was funny how you
I
said
also do
that.
care
But
about my life, but
yeah, yeah. Okay, so Nate is like enamored with this hot rabbi, and she says this when she's giving the service. He's obviously really thinking about it and staring at her like just oh my God, like you're so amazing. But she says, "We are here today to mourn the loss of Jeffrey Mark Shapiro. Talmud says, better is one day in this life than all eternity in the world to come."
Shapiro.
Um, yeah. What is okay, so Talmud, I think it's the central foundational text of Rabbinic Judaism, serving as the primary source of Jewish law. So, anyway, that's what she's saying there. So, now we're at Sarah's, and they're having their annual Howl, and the guy, her friends, is outside, and he's reading the poem Howl, and they're banging on bongos, and they're all partying, and it's super funny. I just said, oh my God, I just want to live this life so bad. It just looks like so much fun. They're all so cool, and I said hot. I don't think I said they're all hot. I think that was my voice to text. Oh, hot guy for Claire alert is what it's supposed to
Mm.
say. I was like, they're all so cool. And hot guy for Claire alert. I forgot about this guy, but I love this episode. And is that Max Dennison from Hocus Pocus? But it's not. I thought it might have
No.
been Toby. You didn't think he looked like him?
Mm.
They made eye contact, Claire and Toby, this cutie. And he's like a teen like her. And they like each other, obviously. And he's played by Stark Sands. And I was looking at his IMDb profile and I found out it is not Max Dennison. So,
Okay,
you're
so
right.
I put Claire is sporting Mr. Cutie
S-
Pants.
Spotting.
What is that?
I think you meant to say spotting. Claire is spotting Mr. Cutie Pants. Like she noticed
Yeah.
him.
She spotted him across the fire or whatever.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. So she's spotting Mr. Cutie Pants and her vagina's like tingling.
Yep. So we're back at Rico's house now, and he's opening the door and he walks into Ramon having sex with a dude, not Vanessa. So he
Be careful
hears
what
the
you walk in on.
Yep, exactly. I forgot that when he walks in the house though, he like hears the moaning and grunting of like sex noises and obviously assumes it's
And has
Vanessa
somebody
and
bent
Ramon.
over and he
Yeah,
can
so
see
he's
behind the
like,
curtain.
yeah, because they're like doing it under this like plastic draped over sheet and stuff. So he obviously thinks that it's Vanessa and Ramon and like barges up in there and he's like, what the hell? So I obviously hate that Rico is a homophobe. So fuck him for that. But his character, just the actor's mannerisms just hit
Oh,
so
good.
hard. They're so good. He freaks out, he kicks them out, and he's like, what the fucking fuck? It made me laugh so hard, just his little spicy Latino ass. I also wanted to say Rico and Vanessa have such a cute house. I love it so much. I love all of the attention to detail in the sets on the show too.
Yeah, it is really quaint. Also, Rico needs to calm the fuck down. He is majorly crossing line. He
Do you
went
think he
looking.
has
Like curiosity killed the fucking cat. Literally, the killed the cat. And he went looking
curiosity
for
killed the cat,
something.
you know? Do you think that Ramon crossed a line?
I don't know if I could only. No, I don't think he did because he's gay and obviously can't have his gay sex wherever he wants because it's 2002 and
He's
that's
also
not.
married with children.
Oh, it's a whole nother story.
Yeah, no, I got you. I know what you mean. Um, I
I
mean, I
think
personally,
that really truly is a whole nother story. He's living a life of a lie to blend in with society. And now he gets to have a moment of like taking off his mask. No, I don't think he did cross a fucking line, even if he's married with kids.
that could have been David
It could
when
have
he was
been
still in the
David.
closet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's complicated, obviously, but so that happened. Then we're back at the wherever, and Nate approaches Ari, the rabbi, after the service, and he asks her if he can ask her a few questions about death from a Jewish perspective as a funeral director. I was like, yeah, right, Nate. But anyway, she's like, oh, sure, I'll give you my card. And he's like, no, I mean now, which is kind of presumptuous of him to just assume that she would want to give you her time. Like, I don't know, like, just the way he said, like, no, I meant now. Like, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, just take her fucking card and shut up. But anyway, so
I
then
think
she
he was more
explains to
so
him.
like he was feeling the weight of everything happening, and he probably was. There was
Wanting to get his
urgency
dick
in the
wet?
back. Okay, no, I was actually going to talk about this. I think he's genuinely curious about. I don't think he has the hots for her like you do. I think she has the hots for him.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't think that he's like wanting to actually make a move on her. I don't think he's at that point yet where he would cross that line, but you can tell that they think each other is attractive and they are giving each other eyes. And yeah, but he's kind of being an asshole because he's like he keeps going up to her, he keeps talking to her, he keeps like giving her these looks and stuff. And meanwhile, he knows that he is engaged and he's not being upfront about it. So he's like kind of leading her on in this weird way, even though he didn't outwardly say anything. And you are right, he does have these valid reasons to be seeking support.
Afterlife
But do you
support.
really think, what if Ari was not a hot rabbi? What if she was a crusty old man rabbi? Do you think Nate still would have been like, can I talk to you, please, about the afterlife? Maybe, maybe not.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, anyway, so
what
that
do you guys
happened.
think?
Let us know in the fucking comments, please, because I have conflicting feelings about Ari. I feel defensive for Brenda, in a way. Like, I want to protect Brenda because I love Brenda, and so when I see like any kind of threat for her, I'm just kind of like but I do like Ari. I think she's a good person. I think she has integrity and I think she's very insightful, and she's also intellectually out of Nate's league, just like Brenda.
So he has a type.
Yeah. Ben. Okay, so now we're at Margaret's new posh apartment, and Brenda arrives with a little succulent for Margaret, and she says, I brought this for you. Doesn't need watering or care in any way, and hands it to her, and then Margaret looks down and looks at her like clocking the insult. Super funny. Okay, so this was a super sad and hurtful scene. Margaret talks about Brenda's wedding for like a hot minute, and then she goes to talking about herself again. And it's like, your father and I got married on the beach, and then she gets all sad and starts crying. And she says to Brenda, I think you're going to have to leave. I have to go in my room and sob for an hour. She was like saying she was sad and holding back tears, and she has her back turned to Brenda. And Brenda's like, very compassionate at first. She's like, well, I'll stay. I can massage your shoulders, or at least like let me help you. And Margaret's like, no, it doesn't help me that you're here. And please don't tell your dad that you saw me cry. And Brenda is still being compassionate to her. She's like, oh, Mom, come on, let me help. Let me stay. And Margaret snaps on her. She says, I'm not Billy. If you want to help me, just leave. So Brenda just looks at her like dumbfounded, like, oh my God, which has got to be so hurtful because, first of all, she literally just got there. She came all this way. She brought you a housewarming gift. She came there for you. And now you're like getting sad about your husband, and your daughter's there and it's reminding you of your husband. So you have to ask her to leave, and you can't, like, I don't know. Margaret just sucks. She's hilarious, but she sucks. She only cares about herself. Total narcissist, only totally neglecting Brenda. Super sad.
I feel like Margaret wants Brenda to tell her dad all of the things that she's seeing.
Even that she's crying and stuff.
Yep. I think when she says, don't tell your dad, I think she's saying, tell your dad. Tell your dad how miserable I am. But don't tell him I told you to, because you'll have to say, Mom told me not to say anything because I'm strong and independent. But I also low-key need you.
Yeah. That's probably true as well. Oh boy. Now Nate's at the or at the burial with Ari, apparently telling her about his AVM because he's like, I didn't watch the scene yet when I was writing this, but he's saying every time I get a headache, I just think this is it. He hasn't even told Brenda yet though, and he's telling Ari and he hasn't told Brenda. So that pissed me off. I'm not mad at Ari for that, but I'm mad at Nate. Like, what is wrong with you? So then Brenda calls him while he's talking to Ari and he fucking ignores it. And I do like what she said here though. They were flirting for sure. She said, "Come and watch him be buried. Jeffrey can't repay you, so it's considered a great, great mitzvah, kindness, love for its own sake. Some people call that God," because they were talking about Nate saying he doesn't believe in God, and she's like, maybe it's time you find him. I'm not saying I like that part. I'm just saying I like the idea that kindness and love for its own sake is synonymous with God, you know?
I loved they said something else too, like Nate's telling her all about his AVM and stuff,
Yeah.
and the Ari was like, yeah, I get the same thoughts as well. I have the same mentality also. And he's like, really? What do you have? And she's like, a body. So it's just a great reminder that no matter what you have, AVM, depression, like everybody's body is going to expire. We have a time clock on us, and none of us really know when that is. So it's really important to really try to live in the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I really like that line too. I'm glad you made a note of it. Okay, so then we see Robbie and Ruth having dinner at Ruth's, and Robbie's going on and on and on about the plan metaphors. And I think Ruth was starting to be over it. And then, of course, the scene escalated, and Robbie's like gabbing and gabbing and gabbing. And we're hearing Ruth's thoughts spoken out loud, but she's not actually saying them. But she's literally like, shut up, shut the fuck up. If you do not shut up right now, I am going to stab you in the eye with a fork or something. Like, she's just getting so annoyed of him because he's not shutting up about this plan shit. And so what did I see here? I was like, is she just starting to be over it now because she is actually done with it? Or is it because Claire tried to use her own logic against her earlier and now she doesn't like it anymore? Or is she really growing out of it in like a good way? I'm not sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, Ruth was getting super annoyed with Robbie and then just straight up tells him, I think I've learned everything I need to learn from the plan, and I don't feel the need to speak in building metaphors and talk about my feelings in this way anymore. And Robbie was like, oh. But honestly, like, I think I do feel kind of bad for Robbie here. He's just being himself. I don't think that's the point of this, though. I think that they're showing us that Ruth is learning to stand up for herself and to enforce boundaries and to, like, I don't know, just like have the life that she wants to have and to not let people walk all over her. Not that Robbie was trying to walk all over her, but she just set a boundary because she didn't want to talk about that anymore. And I think that's awesome for her.
She set the boundary with Robbie because that was one of the first people that she set the boundary with in the first place when the plan was starting to become a thing for her. So I think that Robbie is Ruth's safe space. And so when she's practicing something new, she's going to do it on Robbie because she knows that she can.
Good point. I love that. And that's so true. I totally forgot about that. What exactly, do you remember what she did? Because I know that's true. I just don't remember what she set the boundary with him before in the other episode.
When they were talking about the plan and the renovations, and I can't remember in detail what it was about, but I'm sure we could find a clip.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down. So then we see David sitting at the dinner table waiting for Keith to get there at the fancy restaurant and could tell that he was getting pissed off because he was late. And then Keith called him and he's like, I don't know what kind of power trip you're on, but it's pretty cruel. And then all of a sudden, he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And we come to find out that Taylor is in the hospital because she had appendicitis. And no wonder why she kept saying her tummy hurt so much. And then Keith was just ignoring her. And I hope he feels like a dick, but also just want to note how attentive David is being. He's like, oh my gosh, is she okay? And really cares, where Eddie was always just a prick.
Uh-huh.
So David and Keith did get into like a little back and forth, like because so they're at the hospital. David
Mm-hmm.
goes to the hospital, and Keith is like being super hard on himself, and David's like, "Don't be so hard on yourself," blah blah blah. But then they have a tender moment after they find out for sure that Taylor is out of surgery and everything's fine, and you can just see the love reigniting in their eyes for each other in going through this like traumatic moment together. I super sad for Taylor, but it was a very just nice to see them being there for each other.
Very endearing.
Uh-huh. And we're back at Sarah's house now. I so badly want to do all of these things that they're doing. I want to live Aunt Sarah's life. I also want to be right.
Take some
like,
more
can we just do
shrooms.
that? Yes.
Which, by the way, did you see that they are legalizing shrooms for therapeutic purposes in Minnesota?
No, that's awesome. Sign me up.
You're signed up.
Is this dispensary your house still?
To be determined.
Okay.
But I mean, you could go to Michigan and get them. We're in Minnesota, by the way, for those of you who are watching.
Yeah. I have done shrooms, but I've always been too afraid to do enough to actually do much to me. It's always just been very like
Oh
teeny
my
tiny
God.
bits. What?
I have done enough to make things happen. I
I
have done
know.
more than enough. And it is the best drug I have ever done in my life. Better than marijuana, better than
I have
alcohol.
some. I'm going to do them sometime.
Let's do them
What?
together.
Okay. I've fucking asked you before, and you're always like, I don't know.
Well, I got to make sure that I don't have, the kids.
Yeah. Well,
I got to take care of them.
I'll be here.
Alrighty.
Okay. So I want to be Sarah. I also want to be Claire in this moment. And it's so cute that her and this Toby guy, they're like sneaking off from the crazy old ladies dancing around with her boobs out by the fire, and it's just such a fun scene. But okay, so Toby is like the son of a couple that's there, and he says that he's their DD every year for this to Claire, and then he starts making out with Claire. They're super cute, and then she's like, "We shouldn't be doing this. I didn't bring a condom or whatever," and he's like I would even, and he explains to her, "I would never have sex with someone that I just met." I've had I've had the major life experiences at the age of 19 to know. So he's a few years older than her, but to know that it just kind of sucks to enter the body of another human being that you're not in love with, which I can appreciate the sentiment of that, but like, you're 19, dude, what the fuck? But then they have like a cute moment. She snuggles into him, and she's like, "What are you, like, straight edge or all Jesus-y or just gay?" And I thought he was going to get mad at that, but he thought it was funny. They laughed, and yeah, super cute scene.
Major life experiences at 19. Like, are you fucking serious right now? Oh my
I
God.
know.
I can't even say that at 33 because I know that I still have many more life experiences to have that are probably well, I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess. To be determined, but
Hopefully not too many more
19.
traumatic ones, but yeah.
Yeah, I could lay back on those.
Same. But no, that was annoying. I was just like, I'm gonna let you pass on this, but also like, shut up.
I didn't believe him at first. Like, I thought he was playing a game, and then we find out that because like, you know how you want what you can't have kind of a thing, like playing the chase game.
Yeah, that's what she said too. She was like, is this just a ploy to like get me caught off guard, and then we're just all of a sudden like hooking
She
up?
did.
But, yeah, I mean, because that's kind of how it happens a lot of the time. So anyway, we're seeing Keith at Taylor's bedside telling her everything's going to be okay. God, that was so sad. So he's like, Taylor, I'm sorry. Or Taylor says, I'm sorry I got sick. And he's like, baby, it's not your fault. You kept trying to tell me and I wasn't listening to you. And then he says, we have to have a code word in the future so you can use it to tell me when you're really sick and not just playing. And she's like, but it was always real. Oh my God, break my heart. So Keith is like, I know, baby, I'm so sorry. And it's just so sad. Keith did really fuck up with the situation, but
Code word for when your kid is sick, the code word is I don't feel good. I have a tummy ache. How many
right.
times were we dismissed as children for having a tummy ache or a headache or something, and nobody believes you until you start throwing up? Like,
Yeah.
why don't we believe our
Yeah.
children? I don't understand.
And even if it is not something where they like have the flu, it's like it's very real. I mean, I was talking jokingly about
There's
it
a
earlier, but
reason.
yeah, it could be like a mental reason, like you get
Anxiety.
physical. Exactly. What do you get physical symptoms from anxiety, depression, all of these different things.
My kids
Yeah.
are 1, 3, 5, and 7, and my 5 and 7-year-old are very well versed on anxiety and what it can do to your body and how we can find the difference between when we are having anxiety or when we are really sick and what we can do. Like, I'm giving them tools to navigate through life with anxiety
Yeah.
because let's be real, it's a prominent thing in our household.
Yeah. Who doesn't have anxiety? If you do not have anxiety, please let us know because I don't think
Yeah.
well, that's not true. I can probably name a few people, but it's because they don't got much going on up there at all. But
They're not
no, that's
actually here. They don't have anxiety because they're not here to actually be here.
they're
They
not
don't know what's going on.
experiencing the same plane of reality as we are. Oh my God. Okay. So we're back at the wake or whatever, and there's this Jewish guy telling a 9/11 joke, which was kind of crazy because this was in 2001. So this came out the year that 9/11 happened. But he says, I don't know why you're all so depressed. I haven't gotten laid since September 11th, 1985. Which it's just absurd. It's just funny because it's absurd. It's like, LOL, damn. Okay. So then Nate says to Ari, there's one part I haven't told you. I'm engaged. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about this was a dick move. I don't know. You're telling her everything about your life, including your very serious physical medical issue that you haven't told your own fiance yet, but you're not telling this girl that you're engaged. Like, you're leaning on her for all this emotional support and spiritual support and telling her all of the things except the fact that you're engaged. And you know goddamn well that he knew that she was into him the whole time, regardless of if
Probably.
he was. So, um,
I mean, the vibes were vibing.
yes, you could see it in her face for sure. And you can tell that she looks disappointed and she's like, oh, well, we couldn't go out anyway because you're not Jewish. And he's like, oh, wait, you would go out with me? And oh God, he's such a fucker. And she's like, I just said I wouldn't. And he's like, well, you thought about it. And she's like, I said I wouldn't. And then he's like, well, you thought about it. Come on. And she says, maybe with your whole illness thing, I have a bit of a messiah complex. And he's like, oh, messiah complex. Well, you can save me if that's what you need to do. You can save me. And she's like, it's really good that you have someone. If anything will save you, that will. And he's like, well, I haven't even told her yet about my head thing. And she's like, how could you not tell your soulmate something like that? Valid fucking question, Ari. And he's like, I don't even know if she is my soulmate. And then she's starting to get rightfully pissed because he's just being a dick at this point. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay, so you're just going to marry her because you have nothing better to do? That sounds good. And he's like, I don't even know what a soulmate is. God, he's pissing me off. Like, what does that even mean? And then Ari says, maybe it's the person who makes you be the most you that you could possibly be. Maybe your soulmate is the person who forces your soul to grow the most. Not all growth feels good. I like Ari's little quips and quips. I like Ari's little quips. What the
What
fuck
is
did
that
I
supposed
say
to
there?
mean?
I have no idea. Wisdom, her little quips of wisdom. Even though I feel defensive about her with Brenda, I do like her vibe overall, like, and her perspective on things, especially because, like, usually super religious people like this, I am not able to get on the same page with on much at all. But she gives me much more spiritual, honestly, than like super religious in terms of her philosophy on things.
Yeah.
So I like it.
I think the rabbi would totally have gone out with Nate. She wanted him so badly. Maybe your soulmate is the person that forces your soul to grow the most. That was an interesting take because that can also be your worst enemy. Somebody that forces your soul to grow does not have to be a positive influence on your life besides the fact that they're making you grow. Like maybe they're helping you grow through a shitty situation that they created.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like they're making you grow by treating you badly.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean they're your soulmate. They can still make you
Right.
grow by teaching you lessons.
So while I thought the insinuation was there to be like this positive and beautiful quote, at the same time, I think it's a double-edged sword. It can be,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right. So we saw Brenda at a stoplight fantasizing about the guy that was parked next to her at the stoplight. And I totally thought that this scene was real for a second because it shows them like fucking all of a sudden. But I was like, I do not remember this part. But it was just a fake out scene. She was just imagining that she was hooking up with this guy. And then she snaps back to reality. And he's like, hey, what's your name? Like shouting through the window. And she just fucking speeds off. So she's starting to not feel so good about herself and these thoughts, I think.
I thought he was super hot. When I'm very demisexual, so for me to just say that is quite a lot. I'm
Was.
clearly, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I also do think Brenda is going through something. LOL. She's clearly not there.
Yeah, she's somewhere.
It's giving me the vibes of David when he went off with the stripper or the hooker in whatever city that they were in. And he was not well there either.
No. I feel like
you feel like what?
You and I can both relate to this spiraling like right now though. Like
Yes.
kind of just saying. Anyway. Okay, so see
Who's pulling us out of this one though, Chloe?
I don't know. We are literally the blind leading the blind. Yeah. That's what I tell her. I'm like, yeah, I was talking to Courtney and Jackie about it, but we're all pretty fucked up. So it's more like commiserating, but it's fine. We need professional help.
We have professional help. We literally, all of us have
Yeah.
professional help. It's not working.
Fuck. Yes, it is. We're just going through a Brenda. We're going through a Brenda. We're having a Brenda. We're having a David and a Brenda and a little bit. But you know what? Honestly, though, it's funny to look at this show and think about how they portray people's lives like this because it's so fucking relatable and everybody
Mhm.
goes through phases like this and like you can relate to the characters because nobody likes to admit that they have compromised their own integrity or made mistakes, but everybody does it. And to be validated in that way through being able to connect with characters on this deep of a level, on this intimate of a level, is something that I don't think many other shows, especially of this time, were able to accomplish, which is why this is such a fucking amazing show. But
Agreed.
yeah. So we're back at the funeral parlor, and the widow of the death scene guy approaches Ari when she's sitting by Nate, and she's just like kind of in a daze, and she's like, "Did he want to die?" And he asks both of them that, and she's like, "What do you think?" And Ari said, "How could he want that?" And Nate said, "I don't think he wanted to die." So I thought that was interesting. I wonder what this scene was supposed to kind of make us think. I think that Nate, for one, is really enjoying seeing Ari be compassionate with this woman. Like he gets turned on by seeing people be good people. He has this like I don't know what it is. Like
He has a kink for
but
compassion and empathy.
yeah, kind of, which he doesn't really get from Brenda. Like
No,
Brenda's not like that. I mean, she's not an unkind person, but she's not. Ari is just like, oh, she's a fucking rabbi. So, I
Nate's
think
an
that he's,
empath.
yeah, and a little bit of a narcissist. Not actually. I know you can't just throw that word around, you know what I mean? But like, he's
I
also
think Nate's
very,
just thirsty. Brenda's been so out of it. He's not. It's like Brenda's having an affair with this a side of her. So she's slacking in the relationship side with Nate. So of
yeah,
course he's
they
feeling
are,
neglected. So he's just a little thirsty.
yeah, for sure. For
I
sure.
get it.
I think it goes like deeper across the board, but in this instance, that is a very valid point too, that they are extremely disconnected, Brenda and Nate. We've been seeing that happen now for several episodes, and it's just getting exacerbated by
Hmm.
all, every time they meet someone new that they find attractive, it just like tempts them more and more. Brenda didn't even find that guy attractive that she jerked off at her client. She's like, he wasn't even good looking. But it's just like neither of them are able to really, they're losing it with each other. They're losing each other. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So then we're at Brenda's with Nate and Brenda, and she has this kink thing she's telling him about. She's like, leave your clothes on, I'll get naked, then you come back in as a dangerous intruder. And she's like, come on, I'm serious. And Nate is just not at all feeling that. He's like had this whole day where he told Ari about his AVM and all this stuff, and he's just like, no, I'm not feeling it. So we're seeing a mismatch between Nate and Brenda here sexually. He's feeling very in his feels about everything, and he's still hasn't fucking told her about his AVM. And she's all like, pretend you're an intruder and you're coming to rape me. And now they're having sex, and he's being very emotional and like, I love you so much, baby. You're so soft. And she's like, Nate, harder, harder. So they're literally like even verbalizing opposite things to each other. Heads are in very different places.
Showing the
They're not
disconnection.
connecting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I also felt like this was going to be the moment that Nate was going to tell Brenda, which I was wrong, and wanted to point out that this sex is a little whack.
For sure. This is very whack. Uh, did not look fun for either of them. Well, I guess Nate was like,
Just
I
goes
don't
to
know,
show how
neither.
shitty sex can be when you're not connected.
Yes, literally. It's like, what's the point?
I'd rather
That
just
just
use a
made me.
toy.
I know. That just made me depressed. Anyway, okay.
It's okay. It's
All right.
okay.
All right. All
We're
right.
going
All
to be
right. Moving
okay.
on. We are. We are. Okay. So I think we just saw the moment where Keith like fully chooses David. So he walks out of Taylor's hospital room and sees David sitting there in a chair, sleeping upright. And he just looks at him, and he's thinking, like, I think that he's deciding right there in that moment, like, this is the one, like, he is the one that I love, because he was like sleeping in a chair. He had just called him. It's not like they had been back together for a long time. It was literally the first night
This
that they
all
were gonna
happened in
see
a
each
day.
other. Yeah, and David's right there sleeping in a chair. That's
That's
powerful.
that's literally what I wrote.
Yeah. Okay, back at Topanga Canyon. There's so many. This is another very choppy scene one. Back at Topanga Canyon, we hear the beautiful Back to the Garden Woodstock Joni Mitchell song playing, and it's the morning after the howl. And then we see that all of the old people are passed out in the living room, and the one lady's laying on the couch with her big boobs like completely out. And Claire walks in and sees that and takes her jacket off and puts it over her. Like, how sweet that
It
is
was
what
so
you think to
cute.
do. It was adorable. Like, Claire.
They're like sardines spread all out. And then I also put a little side note in here that Sarah and Ruth were cast perfectly. I don't know if you noticed this, but they look like they could actually be sisters.
They really do. They have like the same exact coloring, and they're both so cute. The sardine comment, is that about her boobs?
No, all of the fucking people sprawled out like
Oh.
sardines.
I was trying to figure out. I'm like, how? Okay, I get. How are the boobs sardines? Like, what's the connection?
It's a new word. I'm just tossing it around, trying to see how it feels.
You're workshopping something.
Yeah.
Okay, so Claire walks into the house and Sarah is eating breakfast and they're both talking about how much fun they had. And then Claire's like, "Oh, I love this song. It's so pretty." And Sarah tells Claire, "Yeah, come again and bring your mom next time." And Claire's like, "Yeah, like she would come." And Sarah says, "I think that she hides inside of herself because she's afraid that we will reject her. So let's don't, okay? She's had enough heartache for one lifetime." Which I think that really resonated with Claire. Like, not resonate is the not right word, I think, but I think it knocked Claire on the head. Like, be nicer to your mom. And it made her realize, like, hey,
It was a
actually,
great way to say that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And then she gave Claire the tape to bring home the Joni Mitchell Woodstock song. And then Toby walks into the house and he's like, "As soon as I can figure out which two are my parents, I'll roll them up in a rug or something and put them in my truck." I don't know. And then he asks Claire for her number. And she's like, "Seriously? I figured I'd never see you again." And he's like, "No, I'll come into the city." She's like, "Okay, I'll write down my number." And Sarah is sitting there looking at them like so happy and smiling. It was very cute. And then we're back at Vanessa and Rico's house. And it's Vanessa sitting on the couch with Augusto and a woman who turns out to be Graciela, Ramon's wife. And I was like, "Oh shit, this is Ramon's wife." I didn't realize that right away. So we're finding out that Ramon told his wife that he's not finishing Rico and Vanessa's house because Rico and him had a disagreement about the tiles. And Graciela's like, "Rico, couldn't you have just brought the tiles back and got the ones that you wanted? Like, what the hell?" And he's like, yeah, I guess I could have. And Vanessa's like, "I know, I don't get it either, but they're all loco with this machismo stuff." And then Rico is like,
Machismo.
I love that word, and she says it in like every scene she's in. Rico's like, "I guess I just really wanted to do it myself." And so he's not outing Ramon, which is good, I guess, but obviously still not cool with Ramon. I think Rico literally just has no idea what to do with this information. Graciela's like, "Oh, okay, well, that's cool if you want to learn how to do it yourself. Just don't hold a grudge, okay?" And Rico's like, "Okay." And after she leaves, Vanessa's like, "You're such a weirdo sometimes." And then Rico, he's just like, "Whatever." And walks into the other room, which was so funny. I can't even replicate his mannerisms, but it's just so hilarious.
He's so good. He's so good at that. And it was the weirdest scene because he's trying to act all sly, like he didn't just figure out whatever. And that kind of sucks because I like to tell my partner everything. So like that would be the first person that I would want to tell, like, "Oh my God, can't believe this," and whatever. But I don't even think he knows how to verbalize what's going on or what happened.
Yeah. It was just such a shock. Like, still probably doesn't even believe what he saw. But yeah. Ugh. Okay. So now we're seeing Ruth sitting at the kitchen table having some coffee, and then Claire comes in and she's going to leave the cassette on the table. And I remember the end of this episode. So Ruth puts the cassette in and starts listening and singing to it. So, okay, I said, yeah, she must have been, her and Nathaniel, I guess that would have been when they were teenagers because she got married. I remember she got married when she was 19. So when they were super young, they all probably like hung out and partied together. And that's why they were
Yep.
talking what they were talking about earlier with Nathaniel with his rolling machine and stuff. And then all the family trauma, I guess, must have happened after that or maybe before that. And they just hadn't like fully gotten estranged from each other yet. I don't know. I was just trying to make sense of the family dynamics here. I don't need to read through all of this. I guess I just assumed that Sarah or Ruth were at odds even by that point in their life, but apparently not because we're seeing that she has like a connection to this music that's coming from Sarah. She's reconnecting with that part of herself by listening to it, I guess. And also want to point out that I love Ruth's frog bookends on her kitchen counter. I will have to put a screenshot of it up, but they're so fucking cute and I need to find them and get them for my house because I'm obsessed. It's like two little frogs holding up the books, and then she has some other little ceramic frogs there, and I just fucking love it. So silly. And then so Claire's like, "Aren't you even gonna ask about my weekend?" And Ruth's like, "I wasn't planning on it." And Claire says, "Well, I had fun." And Ruth says, "I'm glad." And then she says, "I found some slugs in the garden." Oh my gosh, I didn't even connect this in my head when she said that.
It
I
was a
don't know what.
metaphor.
Yeah. She was going back to the garden. She's
Mm-hmm.
reconnecting with nature,
Mm-hmm.
with herself. Oh my God. And that is all about what this whole howl thing is too. It's
Yes. Oh
all
my
I
God.
I love like all it always is all connected. They do such a good job of that shit. But yeah, she says, "I found some slugs in the garden just out of nowhere." And Claire literally is like, "Oh, that's neat." So Claire's like, "I'm going to take a nap." And then Ruth puts the cassette in and she's listening. And then I forgot that Claire actually comes down the stairs and sees from
Yep.
afar her mom listening to the song in the kitchen and she's singing along to it. And it's really sweet because I think Claire's connecting that to what her aunt said to her about accepting her mom and realizing and seeing that her mom has another side of herself.
This was a very interesting scene. I feel like Ruth needed to hear this song, and I was wondering if Sarah knew that this would happen because Sarah's really meticulous about what she does. Like, I know that she seems aloof and kind of just flaky and kind of woo woo pants, which is what we are. She also is smart and intentional and makes things happen. She's a universe believer and like putting things into the energy. So I don't believe that this was an accident by any means.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Nothing's an accident. Okay, so we're almost done, but I do have a little note in here about this song because I was just curious to learn more about like kind of how it's why did they choose this song? How is it connecting to all of the themes and stuff? So the song is Woodstock by Joni Mitchell, and it's a song about the longing for a return to innocence, peace, and a more natural way of living, what she calls getting back to the garden. Fucking love that. It was written
Mhm.
about the cultural moment surrounding the Woodstock and the 1960s counterculture movement. So basically, an anthem of the 60s counterculture about wanting to get back to the garden, meaning a simpler, more peaceful way of living in harmony with nature and each other. Oh my God, I just, that hit so hard for me for some reason. That's like what I just feel in my soul is like the need to, I've like written about that in like my journals of like the pull to be
No shit.
connected with the changing of the seasons and nature and like because we're all part of nature, you
Mhm.
know? Like, I don't know. I just really fucking l- love that. I dug it. And it resonates with Ruth, obviously, because she's confronted with the hippie generation that she could have been a part of, but instead very early on, she chose a more traditional life. So the song kind of represents the freedom she feels that she missed out on, but now she's almost having like a second coming. Like she has an opportunity to kind of reclaim that freedom. And she's kind of having like an epiphany moment, almost like this euphoric, like she's getting back to the garden. Fuck, I love this fucking show. It's so good. So that's what I have to say about that.
Absolutely. All of this stuff is intentional. It's so wild when you start to put the pieces together and start to realize, even when I'm watching it and I am taking notes, when you come back and I could be reading the same thing that I wrote and I'm like, oh my God, that's what that meant.
Yes. There's so many connections to be made. It's so fun. And that's the end. So now we get to do date, mate, cremate, mate, date, cremate. So I picked Toby, Ari, and Ramon.
Okay, mate, date, cremate, fuck, marry, kill. So I'm gonna mate. Okay, yeah,
Okay,
you go
go.
first.
All right. I'm gonna mate Toby.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna mate Toby because I think that he would be very respectful and he he won't mate without a emotional connection, and I can
Sure.
connect with and appreciate that. So I think that it would be good with him because we would have to be emotionally connected. And I'm going to date Ari because I think that she is so focused on like the spirituality of the concept of like soulmates and stuff. So it would just be a really strong like relationship and connection. Like she would be there, she would be involved, and she would be like a good partner, I think. And then I'm gonna cremate Ramon because he's obviously gay, and so I wouldn't have fun having sex, he probably wouldn't want to have sex with me and or marry me. So the obvious option, he gets cremated. So
Okay, so I'm actually gonna mate Ramon.
okay.
And the reason for that is because I think he's probably bisexual and I can be a good power bottom. So totally good.
All right.
I would date Ari for very similar reasons as you. And I would cremate Toby because his biggest life events happened at 19. So
Good
he's ready to
answer.
go.
Yep. Yeah. Good point.
MVP. MVP this episode. I was thinking Sarah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Oh, I
She
love it. We never think of the same one.
No, I think it's Sarah for sure because look at all the things she's done. We might have even, who did we choose last time? Did we choose her last time too? It's okay if we did. We can choose her again
I
this
don't think
time. But
so.
I don't know. But especially that you pointed out about like the intentionality of her character and the stuff with the tape and just being she's making Claire see another side of Ruth, which is so important, and she's just a gem. So hats off to Sarah. She earns MVP for
Mhm.
this episode. And then blind ranking, we have 4, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 left. And I have a feeling this one's going to go one of the higher slots. I don't know. What do you think? Where are you feeling with this one?
Okay, I was gonna put it at 10. So
Really? Really?
yeah,
Okay. Let's go with
it
9.
wasn't okay.
I liked it. Continue though. I want to hear what you're thinking.
It just didn't like I was also just trying to plan ahead. I wouldn't actually rate this as number 9 or number 10, but
Yeah.
as a blind ranking, we're just running out of spots at the bottom. So we got to kind of throw some eggs down there.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Yeah,
wasn't like my top favorite.
yeah, I hear you. I know. I'm trying to think back now. It's hard when I almost have to watch the episodes twice to fully take them in because the first time or like taking, or one of the times you're taking notes and it makes it harder. But I think
Yeah.
I'm trying to like compare it now to all of the other ones. But yeah, let's just throw it in at 9 because I did really like it. I really liked I almost want to go with 7, but I don't, there might be better ones too. I just loved.
Right. If we want to be strategic.
I loved how Sarah-centric it was. And it was
Mm-hmm.
like, I loved getting to hang out at her house.
That's a good
And
point.
I don't know, but there might be more to come. I don't remember. Like, I know I've seen this, but I don't remember like what actually is coming in this particular
Right.
last
Like we
handful of
still have a
episodes.
season finale that we have to get through.
Yeah. Gosh, we're doing so good though. This is episode 7, right? Of
Yep.
7, 8. So we got 6 more in season 2, and we will. I know we said this last time too, but I promise we will do better. We can. Do you want to record again next week? Should we try to actually do it next week?
Yep. As soon as we're done with this, we can book it on our calendars.
Yeah, we've been going through it, but we're doing our best, and we will continue to try to do our best. So
Yep.
thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, rate us
Share with
5
your
stars.
friends.
Leave us a review, all the things. Oh, another thing I wanted to start saying here is that if you guys want to ever email us, you can also email us. We have an email address. It's just 6feetunfiltered@gmail.com. So if you ever are like wanting to write in your opinion about any of the story beats or characters or anything, or just something about us or to chat with us, we would love to hear from you. So give us a shout and let us know if you're okay with us reading it on the pod or if it's just for us. But I'd love to hear from you if you want to reach out. So that's all. Thanks for listening. We love you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.